What did you think when you heard the UFC 249 was canceled yesterday?
I was happy as hell. I was happy as hell it got canceled.
It didn't seem like you were when you
No,
posted it.
you know what it was? Minutes after the announcement came out that it got canceled, after that, Dana White went on Instagram, my story, whatever the hell you want to call it, went live to speak out to the fans and such to give his reasons why it got canceled. Well, first off, it wasn't his reasons why it got canceled. His boss, and that's what I'm going to refer to it now, Disney and ESPN, his boss, which unfortunately, and people are going to say this is sarcasm. I really don't care what you call it. This is the truth.
Go ahead, say the truth.
He's
What
got a
were you going to just
5-year
say? What were you about to
Nope,
just say?
Listen, gave up cursing for Lent. Still got a couple of days left. I'm good so far. So the truth of the matter is, because of the deal, the 5-year deal that they have with ESPN, ESPN holds all the cards. And ESPN is the one who pulled the trigger on it and said, forget it. It's not going to happen. So regardless if Fight Island, whatever cute little things he wants to talk about that's so exciting in the future, there's a lot of problems that came up with this fight card that came to, I guess you could say, the surface and became pretty transparent yesterday. Number one, they were going to do fights out of Tachi Palace, which is tribal government. A lot of times, if people don't understand what's going on with tribal government, technically he could go as far, since they don't have to follow any rules, and they really don't. They're their own entity, much like when you go to the Mohican Sun. Mm-hmm. It's tribal. So even the police, everything around it, it's all tribal. There's no state affiliations whatsoever. If that was done anyplace else in California, the ABC was not going to let that happen. So he could actually go as far as to say, I'm going to have spectators. And there's not a damn thing anybody really could do about it. Not right off the bat. He could have as many people as he wants in there. But I believe what happened was ESPN and Disney said, all right, we're not going to do this. First off, we see what's going on with all the other things in the country. It gives a bad message. It sends a bad message. So even beyond the fact that it's one of the worst cards that was ever put together from a talent standpoint of basically being purpose, there's no purpose behind the matchups other than maybe that one heavyweight fight between Francisco Ngannou and Rushek. Mm-hmm. That's the only one that you could say is actually a contender eliminator that would go after Stipe. The rest of the fight card meant nothing. It was no different than what you would say a rummage sale of talent. What can we get that will clear medicals and we can put it together to have something? Why? Because Dana White needs to basically supply fights to get paid by ESPN. There hasn't been any fights. There's no checks coming in from ESPN.
Right.
No money's coming in from the television. Nothing's coming in from the free fights. The last paycheck they got was from the Brazil card. Mm-hmm. That was it, which was given away for free. No pay-per-view money behind that either. So basically, they have to produce something. Did they decide to do this in a nice way? No, because they've flushed themselves with all of these shows and the Contender Series and all these other real flashy little things that they want to do. They're not in a good position when it comes financially. He could say, oh, no, don't listen to this media. They're out of their mind. They don't know what they're talking about. No, you showed the truth yesterday based off the fact that you said you did not. And I love how he says, it's not canceled, it's postponed. Let me ask you this. Is it happening?
No, it's not. Obviously, it's not.
Then it's canceled. Okay, you could call it whatever the hell you want. Oh, we're rescheduling. Guess what? There's a lot of fights rescheduling that if they want to call them reschedule, that as soon as the powers that be says, you could come outside again. Not that anybody's listening right now. And they're not like, it looks like 4th of July weekend outside right now. But the fact that you could come out, you could be around people, the distancing's done and all that. Now that's it. Everybody, fights are on. Not going to happen. And unfortunately, even the UFC, those fights are not going to happen. Doug Rose was the first one who said, I'm not going. I'm not going. And unfortunately for Dana White, it was probably a good move that she pulled herself out because they would have had a better fight if they actually had Claudia Gadelha come in and fill her spot. That actually would have been a better fight. So with that being said, this is ridiculous. It's actually a good thing that it got canceled. It is, in a way, from the standpoint of the talent and their careers, because now they could actually put matchups on that will actually build up their credibility in the ranking system and going towards titles when this thing all clears. And and it was a pointless card. It was just a pointless card. We were saying that last week.
We were. Yep.
We were saying that last week. It was a pointless card. That's why they want to call it Fight Island. Call it whatever the hell you want. Have it wherever you want. But the thing is, if you're having these fights, someone's going to get sick. The minute someone's going to get sick, what's going to happen? You know, just like anything else, the minute somebody gets sick, that's it. It's an epidemic. This, that. The UFC wasn't taking care of the fighters.
It is a pandemic. It is.
But the fact of the matter is, there's no desperation other than the UFC collecting their money from ESPN for this fight to happen. That's all this was. And if somebody wants to tell me, oh, no, it's because Dana White wants to give that, guess what? I'm going to tell you this right now. I'm right. You're wrong. He needs his check. And if Dana White says, no, we're great and this and that, then why would you have such... You could look up and down that fight card. What fights out of the 15 fights on there made sense? One. That's not even 10% of the fight card.
And I understand why Dana White has stepped in and decided to cancel it. But
I understand he's got to make money. I understand that. I understand it's a business just like anything else. But just like all the other businesses that are hurting, especially in this sport, the gyms, the fighters and all that, everybody else that's hurting, PFL is hurting, Bellator is hurting. Guess what, Uncle Danny? You're going to have to bleed too a little bit. It's not like ESPN and Disney is bleeding money right now. No, the UFC is.
Well, speaking of Disney and ESPN MMA, UFC President Dana White spoke to Brett Okamoto about UFC 249 no longer taking place on April 18th, and this is what he has said. I'm trying to get
Brett Okamoto from ESPN alongside UFC President Dana White. And Dana, a couple days ago, we stood at your headquarters and you said UFC 249 is a go. We had a full fight card. You wouldn't tell us where the location was, but you said it was going to be on ESPN. What is the status of UFC 249 2 days later?
So, I told you this whole thing has been a battle since day one. We've been fighting nonstop all day and all night since this pandemic started to put on this event on April 18th. And today we got a call from the highest level you can go at Disney and the highest level of ESPN. And one thing that I've said since we started our relationship and partnership with ESPN, that it's been an incredible one. It's been an amazing partnership. ESPN has been very, very good to us, and the powers that be there asked me to stand down and not do this event next Saturday. And we're ready to go. And one thing that I need to point out is that Tachi Palace in California, the Indian Reservation, has had our back this whole time, has stood their ground, and was willing to do this fight. And let me tell you this, when the world gets back to normal, the California event will be at Tachi Palace. I'm doing a fight there. I'm going to bring them a big fight, and I appreciate them standing with me in this thing. And I want one other thing I want to really point out is all of my fighters that are under contract with me, I want them to feel safe, take time with your families, and enjoy this time. Don't worry about the financial part of this. You're going to get the fights on your contract, and I'm going to make things, right with the people who are willing to step up and fight this weekend. Not this weekend, but next weekend on April 18th. And I'm going to take care of as many people as I possibly can and do whatever it takes to make these guys all feel comfortable. All of my employees, nobody's getting laid off at the UFC. Everybody's good. We will be the first sport back. Fight Island is real. It's a real thing. The infrastructure is being built right now. Yeah. And that's really going to happen. And it will be on ESPN. I don't know. That's it. That's where we stand right now.
Here's what I'm gonna say about Dana White with that whole little 2 minute and 26 seconds of garbage. First of all, he kissed ESPN's ass. That's what he was doing. ESPN is paying UFC's checks right now, and he's saying that nobody is losing their jobs. Nobody is not getting paid. Well, as long as he's making his money and he's going out there and saying, well, the powers to be spoke and ESPN and Disney stepped in and decided not to have this bout. Here's what I say about Dana White. Dana White has been talking all this crap week in and week out that we're definitely going to have the fights. We're pushing forward. We're not going to step back. We're moving forward. This is what our organization's all about. This is what the strength of our organization is. And what did he do? Really, 8 or 9 days before the fight, he decides, and I don't want to hear ESPN and Disney, he decided that he was canceling. And the one reason why he said he had to decide to cancel it, because ESPN was not going to finish and pay the check. That's what it was. It had nothing to do, because if he really wanted these fights to go on, he would have went into his own pocket and made sure that this fight was going on. This UFC 249 was going to happen. It's a crock. That's what I'm going to say about Dana White. Dana White has tried to find excuse after excuse after excuse. Every single time there's a problem. What did he do last week when Khabib decided to go back to Russia? He stepped in and protected Khabib. Do you know why he stepped in and protected Khabib? Because he knows that if he didn't step in and protected Khabib, everybody would have attacked Khabib all over social media saying that he was a pussy. Okay? And that's the facts. And to me, and I'm sorry I'm cursing on the show, I'm just sick and tired of listening to this man talk and protect his fighters. If you know your fighter was going to move on to Russia, knowing that this fight card was absolutely going to happen, why are you going to protect this guy? You've been protecting your fighters, Conor McGregor and Khabib. First of all, when the whole Conor McGregor-Khabib backlash went back and forth, and after Khabib choked Conor McGregor out on his bout, Khabib went into the audience and attacked Conor's team. He suspended those fighters for 9 months. In those 9 months, I bet you nobody knew this, Khabib and Conor McGregor were paid, okay? These guys were paid. And the reason why he's going to pay these guys, because these are the only fighters right now on his cards, really in his whole organization, that anybody gives a crap about.
They're the draw.
Yep. So he is protecting his fighters. He had to suspend Khabib. He had to suspend Conor McGregor because he had to make a statement. But I bet you nobody knew that both these fighters were getting paid while they were suspended. And to me, what I see in the big picture of everything, and Dana White will never admit to that. He will never admit that he paid those fighters, because what he tries to do is he tries to hide under the rug, under his covers, stating all the crap that he has been pitching about the UFC year in and year out. Oh, we're going to look for the next big Ultimate Fighter. We're looking for the next big superstar. And let me ask you a question, Dana. What fighter have you found? Instead of kicking out great fighters like Demetrius Johnson, I always call him Demaryius Thomas, but Demetrius Johnson. Well, no, that has nothing to do with it. That has nothing to do with it. Because when you talk about Demaryius Thomas, he was a Bronco. He wasn't a Jet. And when he did come to the Jet, he stunk for the Jet. So that's not why.
That's why it's your bitterness coming out.
The whole point here is when you think of Dana White right now and the crap that he just said for 2 minutes and 26 seconds, all I could say is, Dana White, the ESPN, they are an amazing organization. We are working so hard together. It's been a great compilation, and we've worked so well together. Really, because you were going to have this fight 9 days ago, and then all of a sudden Disney and ESPN steps in your way, and you cancel the fights. And then you're saying you're all about your fighters, protecting your fighters. If you were all about protecting your fighters,
from day one,
you would have canceled this a long time ago. Here's what you care about. Mucha dinero. That's all you care about. And to me, you don't give a crap about your fighters. You don't give a crap about ESPN or Disney. All you care about is the UFC and your pockets and how much money you can make through all the events that you're making money from. That's all you care about. And to me, it's a crock. Every single thing that this man has said over and over again, every single thing that he said for those 2 minutes and 26 seconds is crap, shit. That's what it was. And I don't know what NFL, Major League, MLB, NHL fan that listens to the UFC and the garbage that comes out of Dana White believes anything that this man says. Because Donald Trump, a week ago, sat down with Dana White, Gary Bettman, Adam Silver, and Rob Manfred. He sat with all these organizations and all the leaders of these organizations, all the commissioners of these organizations, and every one of them said they were canceling it and they were going to follow through what they have said and what the president has said moving forward. After April 30th, then the president will figure out when these events and these fights or baseball and NHL and NBA were going to be able to start again. And what did Dana White do? After that whole conversation, Dana White was still going through with the UFC. And now all of a sudden, Disney steps in and All of a sudden, he cancels the fights. You know why he canceled the fights?
He was told to.
He was told to, and he knew that this card wasn't going to be anything.